And we once again are back. What's the Scoop episode? Buonasera a tutti. What's the Scoop episode number 98? Hope everybody's having a good week thus far. Back with the two guys who helped make this all happen. To my right is Brandon Furtado. How you doing, buddy?
Not bad, Scoop. Not bad at all. I'm excited. We got a lot of news to get to tonight.
Oh, we're gonna have a packed evening. Looking forward to every minute of it. And of course, the newest member in the family, but quickly has made his impact. And it's our buddy buddy Rob Jalossi. How are you doing, Rob?
Hey man, good to be here. Got a lot to cover. I'm excited. 98 episodes, guys. We got 2 more to go. To the big
It's
100.
It's crazy.
It's wild, and appreciate all that y'all have done to help get us to this point. Rob got what looks like a haircut this week. Looks good over there, brother.
Thank you,
Adding,
thank you.
adding some style to the show tonight. Good to see it.
As much as I could.
So, for those who are tuning in tonight, we definitely, I think, have to start with what's probably the biggest news in sports right now. It came down late last night, but things appeared to be trending in this direction for much of yesterday and even before. In the National Football League, we've seen the first coaching vacancy get filled, and it's the New York Giants hiring longtime Baltimore Ravens head coach and former Eagles defensive coach John Harbaugh to be their new head coach. It is a 5-year deal. He's expected to have primary roster control. He's going to be one of the highest paid coaches in NFL history. So the Giants, for all intents and purposes, seem to really be all in on him as their future, which makes a lot of sense. They haven't been able to get coach right since Tom Coughlin retired, or since they parted ways with him, however you want to phrase it. So I'll just start with this, and I won't ask were you surprised by this, because I don't know that many people were surprised by this, but how do you see this changing the landscape of at least the division, if not the full NFC, going forward? And where do you think the Giants go from here, now having their new head coach in tow? I'll start with Brandon.
I think that, because obviously we all knew that Harbaugh was their top choice, was a lot of people's top choice, I guess, going into the offseason. But I honestly, for the division side of it, I like it. It'll make the division competitive again. Harbaugh is, a very, no nonsense coach, but guys do like playing for him. He might, I don't think the issues that they said with Lamar Jackson were totally true. But I really like it. It's a step in the right direction for the Giants. They needed some new life in there. They finally do get it. They get a guy who now is also going to have a lot of free reign to do what he wants and build this team in the way he wants to. So that's even better. Because we were all worried that even though Harbaugh would come there, I shouldn't say all of us, but there was some worry that that the Mara family and Joe Shane that they were gonna still kind of be running things more or less, still kind of calling the shots. But now that they're giving Harbaugh the keys to the kingdom, that's a pretty good step in the right direction. That's finally it seems like they're admitting their shortcomings, and they're going to let a great coach take over and do what he's got to do to build this team to get them in the right direction. So I think that's fine. Bringing Todd Monken over is going to be really helpful.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to mention once I got to you and Rob. Keep going.
But and he's got experience with obviously a guy that can be a decent a dual threat quarterback, runner and a passer. He had that with Lamar Jackson. He helped mold Lamar Jackson into what he is, because when Lamar came to the league, he was still raw. So now he's gonna get Jackson Dart. He's going to put him in the right direction. I have all the faith in the world that he's going to get him right. They're going to get a healthy Malik Neighbors. You're going to get a healthy Cam Scatterwell. I like the fact that they're going to be, he'll get those guys playing smarter also, because let's be honest, all the kind of concussion issues and injury issues they had last year, a lot of it was just coaching putting them in bad positions and bad spots and whatnot.
Right.
So I Harbaugh's going to fix that. So it's going to be a real, it's not going to be a quick turnaround like we're going to see in New England where they go from completely, awful to a Super Bowl contender. But I think that at least for the most part, they've got a chance just because of his name and his impact. If they can just get this roster in the offseason if they can just hit on a couple draft picks and get rolling in the right direction, they could honestly make a push to be probably second in the division. I think they could. When I look at the rest of that division, there's obviously Philly, Philly is Philly, but Cowboys no defense as of right now. We don't know yet. As of right now, no defense. Washington old roster, too many injuries. Giants, younger roster, good defensive line, good quarterback, a good future with the quarterback and running back, a good number one wide receiver. So they're trending in the right direction. That's what I like to see. So anytime the division can get better, and because we always kind of say, we laugh at our opponents, but I want a competitive NFC East. This is a good start towards that.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And I think that, that was a sentiment that I shared last night where I publicly said, whatever you want to say about, whether it's the Giants or the division or whatever, the Giants objectively got better last night. And I think that was something that a lot of us anticipated was going to happen in some capacity this offseason with whoever they hired. Because again, this ended up being, we didn't think it was going to be 3 weeks ago, but this ended up being a really good year to need a head coach. You had multiple proven guys out there, whether it was John Harbaugh, whether it was Stefanski, Mike Tomlin's out there now, even though there's a wide expectation he's going to take a year off. Just so many things happening simultaneously. And, they clearly got their guy because they've committed a 5-year deal, and by all intents and purposes, it seems pretty much, first call on football matters. It seems. So he's the helm of the New York Giants now, and basically the Maras and Steve Tisch and all of that basically seem set to have just said, "Hey, this is your ship now. Steer us." Rob, your take on everything that's transpired over the last 24 and so hours, and how do you see it impacting not just the Giants, but the greater division and conference henceforth?
Well, first off, can we stop getting news breaks at midnight? Can we stop this? I'm out to dinner, and it's just like, oh, hold on, guys, I need to freak out about this for 1 second.
Who's out to dinner at midnight is the question.
It's 9 o'clock my time. It's like midnight.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. It was midnight.
That's still late though.
I'll be honest though. I go out to dinner until like 3 a.m. usually, so it's not like it's not uncommon. Yeah.
That whole last 25 seconds just raised more questions than it answered. But go on.
I know. But anyway, no, I'm just out with my friends late. We hang out late. No, so I'm out to dinner, and then it's like, okay, like this is happening in the middle of the night. And I'm eating seafood, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, I'm confused.
What kind of seafood did you have?
Oysters, catfish.
Attaboy.
So good. So good. But like the fried stuff, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
But
catfish is one of my favorites.
It's so good. Hush puppies, so good, delicious.
That
I've
never had before.
It's really good. It's really good. It's really good. Really good as like a side. With everything. But anyway, aside from that, lol. The thing is,
good one.
The thing is, so first off, I why did this stuff have to come out so damn late? Like, if this came out in the middle of the day, we probably would have done a show in the middle of the damn day, not at 9 o'clock in the afternoon.
I'll say this, because around 7:15 or so Eastern, I'd gotten an update from, I think it was somebody from SNY, I want to say it was, or New York Post, one of the two, that said that John Harbaugh, contrary to an earlier report, was still meeting with New York Giants personnel. So
I think that was SNY. I believe SNY.
I can't recall which one. It was either SNY or New York Post. I can't recall which.
Yeah.
And So when I got that update, I felt pretty confident in thinking this guy's not going to get his text or not going to go take his Titans interview.
Yeah, no, he did not.
And then, so the fact that it came out as late as it didn't really surprise me, to be honest, because my guess is that my guess is what happened is that before it went public, he wanted to say, here, let me call the Tennessee. Let me explain to them what's going on. My guess is that he wanted to handle those things personally first before anything went public.
I would imagine his agent both, yeah.
Well, yeah, and my guess is that that's something that they wanted all those I's dotted and T's crossed behind the scenes first before anything went public because, again, that's kind of a debaggy way to do business, to have a team find out through the media.
Oh, no, for sure. But aside from that, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, for Harbaugh's sake, and I'm just like, oh, I love this. Because let's be honest, and you guys know this in the NFC, so let's be honest. NFL is better when the Eagles, Cowboys, good luck to you guys, and the Giants are better. The sport's just way more. And honestly,
I would add the Commanders to that.
Not as much. Except the new RFK Stadium might change that. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
The Jets.
Well, it's also
I get better.
I think you can make the case that in terms of the young quarterbacks in the NFC East, which is, Daniels,
yeah, that's a good thought.
Or even if you want to go to the wider NFC, I think you can make a strong case that in terms of young, and I mean very young quarterbacks, I think you can make the case that Washington's got the best of any of them.
Right. Mm-hmm. So like I'm thinking about it from that sense. The Jets need to do better because honestly, if the Jets and Giants are both good, the league is in great hands.
I mean, the Jets need to do better as an evergreen concept. So.
No, that is true. And then obviously for the wider scope, this is amazing for Fox. Fox, like CBS.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, like CBS. Let's be honest, the AFC CBS contract in the last 15 years has not been provided. Well, it has provided quality, but it's Mahomes and Brady, pretty much. The NFC has always provided quality in quarterbacks, so this is good for Fox. And then
it's provided more randomness, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, more interesting randomness. So there's the like huge big picture. But then also like this makes so much sense for Harbaugh. I mean, you have the number 5 pick. This is obvious what you guys said. Number 5 pick, quarterback set, running back set, receiver set. And then the rest of the roster, like as a head coach, what I think is fun.
And they got some nice pieces to work with on defense. They just need to build up that offensive line so that
they need a couple secondary pieces, and they think they need a linebacker.
Yeah.
I'm not saying their defense is set. I'm just saying they got some nice pieces that they're
100%.
They just need to build up that offensive line so that Andrew Thomas isn't shouldering the whole load his damn self.
Right, and that's the thing that I find, and this is what Monken's going to bring to the table, obviously going there too. But I'm
about to talk about that because I was pissed about that.
I don't know why you thought you were going to get Monken. I don't understand that. How did you think that was going to happen when Harbaugh was a free agent and you knew that wherever Harbaugh was going to go, he was going to go with them?
I didn't consider that as foregone of a conclusion. As I can see. I in retrospect maybe I should have, but I didn't consider that as foregone of a conclusion as it turned out to be. Like for example,
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. No, I think that's completely fair. It just after it happened, I also had the same thought. I was like, shit. I also should have thought. Excuse my language. I thought it should have been that foregone as well.
You're fine.
And I'm
stay away from effing. Just stay away from effing. You're fine.
That's the only curse word we are not allowed to say on this show. This is amazing. But otherwise, like if I'm Harbaugh, I love this situation because I'm like, I get to just mold every piece of this roster.
Oh yeah.
And if the players buy in, which I'll be honest, it looks like based on what we've heard from Scoutabo and Dart himself in private and public.
I mean, well, Dart was in the meetings with Harbaugh yesterday.
I'm not surprised by that at all. Not surprised by that at all. That's awesome. So clearly they're very excited. They should be. So and they're going to get the players to, it's just everything about this is beautiful. And it takes this team that feels like has been in rebuild purgatory forever. Mm-hmm. Give them 2 years. They'll figure it out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They'll figure it out.
Oh yeah. If they don't completely do everything wrong between now and the beginning of the season, this team's days of Ben McAdoo and Pat Shurmur and Joe Judge, those days are over in Big Blue.
And then on top of that, look, their GM is still an idiot, but guess what? He gets sidelined a little bit, which is good.
But he's getting, he's getting sort of Howie Roseman under Chip Kelly now. So
yeah, a little bit, yeah. So for me, I honestly, it's exciting. Like this is an exciting move.
I freaking hate the Giants, but I'm excited for their fans right now.
Here's the other thing. Speaking of in light of the Todd Monken thing we just talked about, Scoop. Yeah. I'm pissed I didn't think about this as an obvious solution first. I thought it was the Raiders. The Giants actually makes more sense, honestly, than the Raiders.
Well, see, here's the thing. We ended up with. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I was on FAH saying I'll be shocked if we get more than two or three more firings. And now we have 9 coaching vacancies, and several of the coaches that were let go of those guys or let go from those teams became major freaking candidates on other teams. So it's like it became the most interesting game of coaching musical chairs in the NFL, perhaps in my lifetime.
I think perhaps in history. I've never seen that.
I think John Harbaugh became the most interesting head coaching free agent since Andy Reid got fired from Philly.
Yeah. It's been that long of a time, but no,
because Belichick did not garner the interest that some people thought he would.
Well, it makes sense. That was a bad ending. But Scoop, wait, continue with your Monken thing, because I understand you guys as Philly fans, you were excited about him potentially going to Philly, but like,
well, he was lower on my list, honestly.
Well, real quick, I just want to get to some. I just want to get to some of the comments real quick because we've gotten backed up a little bit, even though 90% of them are the same person. We've got Kevin B. Taylor. We got Kevin B. Taylor jumping in. That's the first time I've seen him saying, "What's good, people? Let's go Giants, Eagles down." LOL. Look,
our TCA boys right there, loving the Giants.
Yeah. Oh, this is a TCA guy.
Yep.
Yes,
he's a diehard Raiders fan.
He's a Raiders fan saying, "Let's go Giants." Okay, Kevin, you confused me, but
because he wants your Eagles to be bad.
Yeah, that's what it is. Because he likes to troll. He likes to troll me. Put it that way.
Oh, all right. And Nikki's saying the NFC in particular has the most coaching vacancies. I'll be honest with you, I hadn't even broken it down by conference because there's gotten to be so damn many.
Good job, Fox. That's what it is.
She said, thanks you too, Rob. She said yes to oysters. She said hello to you as well, Rob, the football goat, and Brandon Puddles' biggest fan. For those who don't get that reference, Puddles is a mascot from the Oregon Ducks, which is Brandon's favorite collegiate football team.
Yeah.
Because our alma mater. Our alma mater, Seton Hall, didn't have a football team until Rob created it on CFB.
Okay, I had a thought. You know what I have to do when we get a studio? I gotta buy like a big Puddles thing and like put it behind your seat.
Like a fat head?
Like a fat head or something. If
you want a fat head, just look above my neck.
Oh,
no! I should find a way to get like one of like his heads. Like you can buy like a head of Puddles online.
Oh, like what Lee Corso does with the
Kevin's saying Eagles got their wings clipped. This is some bold trash talk from somebody who's a Raiders fan, bro. Mr. Hathaway saying, "What's up, Scoop? What do you think of your Giants head coach?" We were just talking about that, and I absolutely think that they nailed this hire. I love the fact that they gave him 5-year deal. Love the fact that they gave him what seems like full personnel control. I love the fact that the Maras and Tish are basically saying, you drive the car, or you drive the bus, whatever the saying is. I again, all allegiances and all biases aside, I think they freaking nailed this hire. And I think if they don't completely botch the next 9 months, I think that they're going to be a pain to deal with in the division the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole made a comment, but I'm not even going to quote her and comment and repeat the words of it.
Oh no!
And Kevin says the U took the Ducks down. I think this is gonna be a really good. thing. Excuse me, sorry. I think it's gonna be a really good matchup between them and Indy.
You
Shout
think it's
out
gonna
to
be
Kenny.
good?
Pardon?
I am not excited for this.
I think Indy beats them by a million.
I think they beat them by 30. I think they smack.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I think they pile drive them. I don't think it's even close.
I don't know. It's hard for me to not be excited about a championship football game, to be honest with you.
I'm not saying well, look, I am partially saying I'm not excited because if the game is good, it would be like one of the most entertaining national championships in a while. But we know how this works. It's the college football playoff. Every time we get to a natty in the last few years, it's always a flipping blowout. When's the last time we had a close natty?
Nikki
I mean,
says
think about it, and think about it this way too. Like with these two teams, because we're going into that matchup. Like Carson Beck, how many times, even against Ole Miss, was he throwing into double coverage, triple coverage, passes were tipped. So it's like I can just imagine with Indiana's defense and how disciplined they are and how good that offense is. I'm like, it would take a miracle for Miami to beat Indiana.
The only thing I will give them, and it's going to be tough because of all the tickets and everything, because it's such a mess to get tickets there. I hope we get like some solid Miami support because they're at home.
Oh, they will.
I hope. Have you seen how expensive the damn tickets are?
Yeah, but the thing is,
ridiculous.
They're going to show up. They're going to force their way into the stadium one way or another. So.
It is true. It is true. It is true.
Just real quick, run through a few more things. Nikki said Indy will win the Natty. I think we saw Mr. Clayton Lacey. Mr. Lacey saying, yes, we won. As speaking as a Dallas fan, he says he wants the Eagles, Commanders, and Giants to succeed. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Mr. Lacey. I hope you're doing well. And Nikki's basically continuing to talk about Indy. And she's asking the question saying, Scoops, did NIL contribute to Indiana's success this season?
1,000,000%. A million.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, that's what's happening in college football, right? Because, sorry, Scoop, to budge in, but this is something I'm super passionate.
You're fine. I think that I was going to defer this question to you anyway.
No. This is something I'm super passionate about. Is the thing that NIL has done really well, despite all the garbage that we've talked about with it. The thing that NIL has done extremely well is just create parity. There's no more top Alabama. Now you're not always going, and this is something that Kirk Herbstreit said a couple weeks ago when he did the Indiana game. He's like,
right
now college football is not about recruiting the 5 stars. It's recruiting a roster. It finally feels a lot more unified. And Indiana might be like, I don't know if they're going to be a new dynasty per se, but they're going to be the poster child for, hey, we want to build a roster. And if there's anything that NIL has done well, and again, there's like a zillion problems that we've talked about on the show in past weeks that we don't need to get into today.
Yeah.
The one thing it's done well is coaches are now focused on actually building a roster, or at least that's if Indiana wins the national championship in particular, that's going to change college football.
And Signetti will always get those guys to play hard no matter what his roster even is anyway. So
right.
I was going to say, if you ask me what coach is most likely to lead the next NCAA football dynasty, every dollar I'd bet on that would go to Signetti.
By far, absolutely. But if Indiana wins, which I feel like we're pretty. What is the line? I think the line right now is like 7.5.
I don't have a
for
clue.
Indy. I believe I checked last night and it was 7.5. If Indiana wins, especially pretty handedly, it's going to change college football forever, and that's probably going to be a good thing.
Yeah, on ESPN, it's -7.5 for Indiana.
Yeah, so DraftKings still has it at 7.5. Makes sense. So yeah.
Oh wait, actually the spread went up. Now it's -8.5.
Not surprising.
Yeah. I mean, very few people are surprised that Indy went to this, and there are a good number of people who are surprised that the U is in this. So that doesn't really surprise me all that much. But I don't know. Just by getting here, I think the U has shown that they were not taken as seriously as they should have been. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if they put up more of a fight than people are expecting.
Yeah.
And if they do, I will love it. because we need a competitive national
We need
title.
that in college football.
Craving. Yeah, we need a competitive national title. We need it, man. We haven't had it really in the last few years.
Mr. Hathaway says, "Who is the upset of the NFL playoffs?" I don't know if you're referring to who I think will be the biggest upset or who is the biggest upset so far.
Am I crazy for saying even though Carolina didn't win, that felt like an upset? Like that felt like such a big moment for Carolina, even though they didn't win.
I don't think you're crazy for that at all. I think that the fact that they played as well as they did, but there also were people who thought that them winning that game was entirely realistic in the first place.
Right, but and again, it's not an actual upset, but if I think about the wider scope of the NFL playoffs, I am going to go away from this year going, Carolina is in the best place it's been in such a long time, knowing what they have. I think they still believe in Bryce Young. I think he still has more room to develop under Dave Canales. And I'm just like, okay, they are positioned to handle themselves in that division in particular that just isn't very good.
Yeah.
Next year, they're in position to win 10, 11 games, and it wouldn't surprise any of us, especially if they make good moves in free agency. I think they're still going to have some money available. Again, it's not an actual upset, but if I was to say who made the biggest impression even while losing, it's Carolina.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Carolina the whole way through when we get to the offseason.
That's fair. If I were to say who I think will be the biggest upset, so I'll say just going into the next round, we already talked about this on FAH, but I'll say it again. I think Houston goes into New England and beats the Patriots. I think that defense of Houston is structured in a way and has the personnel that allows them to expose things about the lack of depth on New England's offense. I think that there's a limit to what you can do. Yes, it's great to have, the head coach and quarterback both right, but even Kansas City with just Reed and Mahomes and not much else was not able to go as far as they could when they actually had other things around them.
Yeah. Can I say one more NFL playoff thing that I feel is important?
If I cut you off, I apologize. I thought that you had finished. I'm sorry.
No. I was gonna jump into one other thing that happened this morning, and I'm actually really concerned about it. And I think we
something?
Yeah, we need to be really concerned about this. And people are gonna brush it under the rug because he's gonna play anyway. But Darnold's questionable with an oblique.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, I realized what you meant.
Darnold's questionable with an oblique, and even if he plays, which he's going to play, that's concerning, guys. I mean, I
still think the Niners are so injured, and the Seahawks defense is so good that I don't know if it's going to really matter.
And they are playing in Seattle, which may end up meaning more than we even thought it would.
True. When your quarterback comes into a playoff week having any type of injury, it doesn't matter how severe it is. My ears perk up.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry, I don't not
look
to be
at Josh Allen, yes.
Not to be disrespectful, Rob, but also a quarterback who is not known with the greatest track record for what he's done in the playoffs. He did not
that's not disrespectful. That's just accurate. That's just right.
I think so. I know this wasn't the question that was asked, but I think if you're asking me what the most interesting game to watch this weekend is going to be, I think it's going to be San Francisco versus Seattle.
That's why it's the night game on Saturday. I'm
glad they actually got that right, because I've seen them get that wrong a lot of times in terms of what gets the primetime pick, or at least to me.
It was crazy. After watching the Bills take the Jags down, I think they're going to beat the Broncos. I think they are.
I don't hate it either. I thought about it heavy.
I'm still taking Denver, but
because you know why Denver can't afford to, especially against Josh Allen, they can't afford to not score for 3 quarters and then show up in the fourth. If that happens, the Bills are going to win that game.
Yeah, no, they can't. But also at the same time, and I know we saw it last week a little bit more than we've seen it before, but I don't trust the Bills to keep making the right decisions on offense. It seems like they fall ass backwards into the right moves on how to, on how to run their offense. And eventually at some point they end up reverting to their old, Josh Allen will bail us out of
Superhero.
anything.
They can't do that this year because if they do that, he's gonna die and he's not gonna play in the Super Bowl.
I mean, the good thing is they did change the way that they did things late in the game, because after they saw how beat up he was getting those first couple runs, they were like, okay, we're gonna stop that, and they started kind of moving away from it. So at least they're smart enough to realize that hey, we can't kill our quarterback against the Jaguars.
It's getting darker in Washington State, so someone turn on the lights. Hold on.
All right. And while you're doing that, I'll quickly answer the question that Mr. Hathaway asked. And I don't think, if this comes off as subjective, I apologize. I think the biggest upset so far in the playoffs was San Francisco beating us.
Yeah.
No, I think that's objectively true, especially after what happened against Seattle in Week 18. I was like, oh my God, like,
and just the fact also that there are just some games where you say that team lost it more than that team won it. And I think that was the case in a lot of ways here. Now, again, much respect to Kyle Shanahan, because I expected that game to go the opposite, where he was not going to make the right adjustments. And it completely ended up being the opposite, where he made the calls and made the moves that he had to when he had to. And that ended up being a lot of the difference. So much kudos to them.
I will say it's pretty. He didn't have to make adjustments. He just played cover 4 all game. We just ran the same routes.
Scoop, I have a question. I have an Eagles question for you. What up? I have an Eagles question for you, especially.
The great Erndini is saying "Yeer," whoever that is.
Yeah, it's Ernie.
Okay. So I have an Eagles question for you, Scoop, pertaining to today specifically.
All right, I'm listening, because that goes right into the news that the topic that we're about to get into.
Right. So you watched the presser today, because you were telling me that you were watching it, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay. So I want to see what your thought process is on this from watching the press conference.
Yeah.
Do you think the Eagles know what they're doing, or did they look in over their heads today?
They did not look in over their heads to me. I think that they had they suffered the self-inflicted wounds of a bad hire, or a bad promotion rather. They cut bait with that hire on Tuesday, or at least removed him from his position. There's some rumors that he may be demoted or reassigned. I don't know if that means, the Bobby Boucher of the Eagles or what, but
pass game coordinator.
If he goes back to pass game coordinator, then fine, but whatever. But because for whatever the job description was, and whatever the role of that job was, people have spoken highly of what he did, whatever it was that he did. They've spoken highly of whatever he did in that position, however much or however little that is. If they want to put him right back there and just pretend this whole year never happened, then so be it. Because a lot of us would like to pretend this whole year never happened. But I struggle with people taking it to a level of, this organization doesn't know what they're doing. That to me,
that was why I was asking the question, because to me, because I didn't watch the presser, and I was very curious in terms, because what they said from just, hey, this is their quotes on Instagram or on Twitter. To me, if you just look at the quotes themselves, it looks like they didn't know what they were doing. But that's why I wanted to ask you what you actually said.
Here's the problem I have with that, though. Okay, so on X or whatever you want to look at. Okay, if you're on X, for example, you got 180 characters, right? Now, people are going to try and make quotes as best as they can, but they're going to be sharing quotes of like one sentence or another sentence.
Right.
It's very easy to not get context, or to pull things out of context based on that.
100%, and that's why I wanted to ask you, from what you watched, do you feel uncomfortable or do you feel better than you did 3 days ago?
I mean, to be totally honest, once the move that I know that we all knew needed to be made on Tuesday was made, I already felt decently better. especially with the fact that the 4 names that we've heard come out about the guys in whom they're interested, I think are 4 of the best guys available in terms of offensive minds, which is Mike McDaniel, Kevin Stefanski. We all know that's a pipe dream. Cliff Kingsbury and Brian Dable. I'm not a Brian Dable fan for myriad reasons, but if we get him as offensive coordinator, I'm not going to be disappointed. But so going back to all that, and I'm going to talk about my opinion on that in a moment, because I everything that I'm seeing the last 48 hours really tells me that this is going in one specific direction. And I want to see if you guys agree with that as well. But I'm already getting a sense that I feel like I have a gut feeling of who the hire is going to be. But to go back to your original question, I think it's fair to be. I think you can parallel say that this year and the handling thereof, from the fact that he was promoted. Not even just the fact that he was promoted, but I think even more the fact that he was promoted without a true search. The fact that he basically was looked at as the heir apparent. If you interview 4 different guys and promote and hire him out of those 4 because you think he's the best candidate, then fine. But that just completely smelled as if you knew at week 6 of last year that he was going to take over if Kellen Moore got a head coaching job. And I don't like seeing an organization run that way. I don't care what organization it is. I don't care if it's sports or otherwise. I think that's a bad way to run things. Yep. That being said, I saw somebody, and I put this on my Instagram earlier, and I'm really glad that somebody else said it, because I've been saying this for several days. I think people look at me and think that I'm either naive for believing this, or they think that I'm an apologist for the current the current personnel in Philly, but I just think it's objectively, from a business standpoint, taking the organization or the sport out of it. I think it's objectively. I think this tracks factually, and I think that 2 things. One, I think if we had a repeat of the infamous saga of Press Taylor and Doug Peterson a few years ago, where he refused to move on from the guy, I think if that happened, I think you would have seen both Sirianni and Kevin Patullo out the door. Yeah. So to go back to your original question of how do I feel about that, I already felt better about this when I saw that he basically said, look, this didn't work out, and he didn't waste time in now. Some people will say he did waste time because he didn't give him the full season, but either way, as soon as the season came to an end, there was no bleeping around.
There's no question. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad that it didn't become this whole thing where we started hearing about, Sirianni is trying to convince Jeffrey Lurie about this, or trying to convince Howie Roseman about this. I didn't think there would be, but we saw it happen with Doug Peterson, so there was a genuine question. So I that already made me feel better.
Okay, good.
But I was just really curious. But also part of when I was talking about the Instagram thing is people were talking about how they think that the whole coaching staff should have been wiped regardless. Here's the problem that I have with that. One of the main problems I have with that. You think you're going to sell a head coaching position in a brutal market like Philadelphia with the expectations and the, very thankless, for lack of a better word, experience that sometimes comes with doing that. 10 months after winning a Super Bowl, you're at risk of your job if things don't go well, which included things that were completely out of his control, like losing pretty much your whole offensive line, or at least 90% of it, and your default wide receiver just completely becoming a jerk, which is the nice way that I'll put it.
Can I respond to that really quick?
Well, let me just finish real quick.
Yeah, finish up.
I think that coaching candidates, especially now, when you see how unlikely, or not how unlikely, but how increasingly uncommon it is for coaching candidates to get 2nd and 3rd head coaching jobs. We've seen a lot of guys the last few years get a head coaching job and then not get a second one if they struggle their first time. And I think people would look at that and say, yeah, they got a great GM in Howie Roseman, but why would I hitch my my career or my future prospects to an organization where if the first year struggles, even if things aren't entirely in my control, I could be out in 10 months, even if I had, or if it's 2 years, I could be out in 10 months, even if I just won a friggin' Super Bowl. So I think that is a legitimate, genuine thing that they were concerned about and that went through their minds when considering whether or not to give Sirianni another year. Go ahead, Rob.
I think, I'll be honest, I think that's unequivocally stupid. I think that's so dumb. I'm going to be real. I think it's incredibly dumb because if I'm here's what pisses me off about this whole thing. If there wasn't a Stefanski or a Harbaugh here, I would agree with you. But the fact that and I get Harbaugh took the Giants job, that was set. So let's focus on Stefanski here. This is why I'm upset about this. Why I'm upset about this is, and I get it. There also is the aspect that maybe you're right, and I'm underthinking it. So I want to respect that piece.
Yeah,
but
go on.
Here's what I'm saying. If I fire Sirianni today, right now, if I do that right now, and court Stefanski, he's taking the job without even thinking, because you have the best roster in the entire league. You won a Super Bowl. You have an MVP level quarterback. Sure, you can figure out what you want to do with the receiver. Maybe Stefanski helps with that in some way. But this roster is unlike anything you would have in any of the coaching jobs that are left. You would take this job. Who cares about the Philly market and all that? Just think about the opportunity that you have with this roster and the window that you have.
What I'll say is, I don't think they were just looking at getting their head coach this current cycle. I think they were looking at setting a precedent for coaches and coordinators going forward. I don't think they were just looking at right now.
I know, and I think that's where you're right. And again, that's why I think I'm kind of maybe underthinking it slightly, and this is where you might be correct. I just think if you have a candidate like Stefanski and you're the Eagles, knowing how Sirianni, right or wrong, has managed the last 12 or last 10 months, regardless of the precedent, to me, thinking that you can't get Stefanski, thinking that you can't have a better opportunity with someone else like him is dumb, because this roster is ready to compete for a Super Bowl next year.
Think about it this way though too. Like, when you look at it's a really weird thing that the Eagles have done with their quote unquote Super Bowl window. So you made a wild card game in 21, you lost it. You made the Super Bowl in 22, you lost it, but you made the Super Bowl. You get bounced in the wild card after a collapse in 2023. You win the Super Bowl last year. Then you get, once again, you have a bad offense this year, just like you did in 23. You get bounced in the first round, very ugly. So it's like, it's weird because you've made 2 Super Bowls with this head coach, and that's what ties you to him so much.
Right.
But it's like we can't. Philadelphia, I don't think, can keep having this cycle of keep the head coach, but new coordinator every year, every single year. It just can't continue that way.
That is also true. And I'll be honest, from what I'm watching in Hard Knocks, I can clearly see that Sirianni and Hurts hate each other. They don't like each other at all.
Back up. Well, first off, because I haven't seen Hard Knocks, so I want to get more into what you're asking. What are you seeing that's giving you that indication?
There's a little bit of a rift there.
There's a rift there, and there just is, and so that's the other part.
You're talking about from this season, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the NCAA Hard Knocks.
Well, the reason I'm asking that is because look at who you have. You've got a very high energy, high opinionated, strong personality coach. You've got a quarterback who is so the guy won the Super Bowl and still was being it was still a joke that he's you can smile now, but he's so serious. He's
by the books.
Right. He's so, where I'm going with this is the fact that when you're having that many problems that they were having this season for myriad different reasons, the way that I am looking at that is why would I expect either one of them to be in a great mood, or why would I expect either one of them to be acting like super positive or super excited or whatever?
Because they were in a great mood 2 years ago when you won the whole thing. They still didn't like each other.
Like what the thing that bothers me about their relationship is that I don't know if they inherently hate each other. It's more so, but I think it's more so that just on Jalen's side, and like we as the fans, Sirianni doesn't call plays. He doesn't, and his play designs, which he doesn't really do, but he pulls them basically off of Madden. So it's like it's the fact that Hurts hates running this offense this way, and nothing's changing about it.
Right. And I gotta say really quickly for your guys' sake,
yeah,
I don't understand. Like, I know you guys are upset about this season, but I don't understand how you're not like angry, like Cyclops blowing up in the Doomsday trailer.
Well, I mean, I smelled it. I smelled it coming since week 6.
Well, yes, and I understand.
Like angry in what way? Because I mean, there's a reason why nobody heard from me for 24 hours last week.
But here's what I'm saying, right? If I was in your guys' position, I'm not focused just on the season. I'm thinking about everything we said on FAH this offseason about the Eagles. I'm thinking about everything we said. I'm sure you guys said it on this podcast too, which is the fact that there was going into the year. Let's just be 100% honest. Going into this season, week 1 of this year, there was no reason, none, that this team shouldn't have at least gotten to Santa Clara in a couple weeks. There's none, because this roster was it was as fundamentally good or better than good as you could get. And so
I agree with you.
How wide open the NFL was all year. Too.
Right. Yes. Right. And you know, and also on the AFC side, the Bills are still in there. That's what they're thinking. And that's what Bills fans should be thinking, that this is your best opportunity, go get it. But in the NFC side, that was the Eagles. And so this is why I don't understand. Like, and that's part of why I'm part of the Fire Sirianni train, because I feel like Eagles fans are forgetting just how stupid it was that you didn't get there because of how good this roster was heading into the year, and injuries, and I understand Lane Johnson getting hurt, all these things. I get that. But fundamentally, there's no reason you shouldn't be in Santa Clara in 2 weeks, and you're not there.
That's the thing I keep coming back to, is like, and it's why for a long time I haven't been a Sirianni guy. Is like, at first when he came in, I was like, oh, this guy's a clown. Then when I started winning, I'm like, okay, there's maybe something here. But then after 22 and Steichen left, and I saw what Nick Sirianni really was in 23, I was like, oh, forget, like, this guy's not. You can win with him, but he needs everything to be perfect in order to win. He needs.
It was perfect. This roster was perfect. You should have won.
But not the coordinators, not the offensive coordinator. The thing is like, he needs both coordinators at the top of their game, and he needs the perfect roster. That's the big problem.
You had the perfect roster. You had one piece already.
Yeah,
regardless of it, it's so stupid.
That's the thing that I just don't like, is that when I even said last year, and people called me crazy, like during the season, when I was like, oh, I can tell you what a Nick Sirianni designed offense looks like and what a Kellen Moore offense looks like, because whenever they were, I can see the difference. You can visibly see it, and I was like, okay, like in the early part of the season when they were trying to see, you know, which offense would kind of gel better, and they kind of called some of Sirianni's concepts and then some of Kellen's concepts. Kellen's were far better. They were moving the ball down the field like it was like nothing. It's like a hot knife through butter. And I was like, okay, I can see now, because every time Nick Sirianni has had control of this offense, it's been a dumpster fire. It's been a complete dumpster fire. So it's like, I don't mind that you can win with him. I just need stability at the OC, because Vic is here for however many years he wants to be here, whatever he's got left. So he's not going anywhere for another 3, 4, 5 years. No. But it's just the OC. We need, if we're gonna keep Nick, because I think the only way you keep it, you have to find an OC that's not just experience, but someone at some point is gonna have to stay. Like, we can't keep doing the same thing I was saying before. You can't keep doing the same thing every year where it's, you know, have a good playoff team or a Super Bowl run, guy leaves. Next year, repeat. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
You got to get some stability at that specific spot. You
absolutely.
And that's why if I'm the Eagles, I think it's a giant missed opportunity that you can't get Stefanski in the room as head coach. I think it's a gigantic missed opportunity that you guys will live to regret in 5 years. I think it's gigantic.
I do want to add, Stefanski, even in Cleveland, gave up play calling 3 different times.
But Stefanski, regardless of it, he didn't have the roster that you guys have. You guys have a winning roster right now. Any coach would take it. That's my problem.
I'm not saying that, but people are talking about the issue of your head coach not calling plays. And what I'm saying is that for about half his career in Cleveland, Stefanski wasn't calling plays either.
I get that, but I don't care because I trust Stefanski way more than half the coaches in the NFL. Maybe 3/4 of them.
I mean, because the thing is, and the reason why I was a Stefanski guy, especially even before this season, but why I was towards the end of the season when there was rumors that they could move on from Sirianni and figure this all out. Stefanski's, like we said before, the resume speaks for itself. He's 2-time coach of the year. He's gotten Cleveland to the playoffs. Cleveland, of all teams, to the playoffs.
Can you imagine when he does it with Philly? Jesus Christ, man!
Almost got a Joe Flacco quarterback team to the playoffs,
which is insane. Like, yeah, that's why I've always had respect for Stefanski, regardless of
me too.
Regardless of, I think, like, people are like, oh, well, what's he doing? With this roster this year, like, how it ended in Cleveland. I'm like, what the hell did you expect Cleveland to do when they've had 3 starting quarterbacks this year and none of them really played particularly well?
Well, that's why I thought firing him in the first place was horseshit.
Right. But again, Scoop, I'm not trying to undermine what you're saying at all because I get what you're saying, like across the board. All I'm trying to say is that, and again, this is all hypothetical here.
Yeah.
But to me, when you have this kind of coaching carousel that you said yourself is really good.
Yeah.
Philly gets rid of Sirianni and immediately becomes the best possible job you could have for the next 10 years. I don't understand why you wouldn't take that opportunity. I just don't get it.
Well, I want to add this. And there are people who are probably, I'll acknowledge in advance, there are people who are probably going to say I'm oversimplifying it, who are saying I'm taking it down to too, basic of a level or too simple of a level, which I get, and I think that's a valid criticism of what I'm about to say, but I still believe it that this is true. At the end of it all, if you create that coaching vacancy, you're bringing somebody in on the basis that you hope that they can win a Super Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do so, you're moving off of somebody that just won you a Super Bowl.
But how much did he actually do to win it?
I mean, we're never going to know that answer. We don't know that answer about any head coach in reality.
True. Okay, fair point. I hear that. Continue.
And I also want to add this point that 2 years ago, when they had that season that ended in 2023, the Brian Johnson year, I was somebody who said, if you can find a better head coach out there, then you entertain anything based on the way this season ended and one thing or another. So as much as I've supported or defended him in the past, do know that I have in the past been very open to alternatives in that whole situation. But when it gets to the point, it's one thing when your biggest nodule, and Shane, I think, is the one who said it, where somebody in our group chat said the other day, he's like, well, and Doug Peterson wasn't that great of a coach either. I have an issue, at least in the short term. I have an issue when a guy has won a Super Bowl. That's what the whole NFL is about, is winning Super Bowls. If I've got a coach that I know that for whatever he did, that I know that he was just a part of that, I'm gonna, and people say that one thing I don't like doing. It's one thing to I'm an analytical guy. It's one thing to try and project. The one thing I don't like doing is the revisionist history thing. So I'm going to say that that somebody was not a good coach because we could have won 2 Super Bowls with a hypothetical of a coach that we don't know. We don't know how that offense would have been run. We don't know how those players would have gotten along. We don't know how that locker room would have been. Like all these different things suddenly become hypotheticals. And I'm sorry, I'll take the Super Bowl ring that I know we got rather than, oh, there's a chance that if everything lined up, we could have won more than one.
Well, here's the other piece that I think is incredibly important to this. And again,
I'm listening. I'm all ears.
And again, you're right. There's a lot of hypotheticals to this. I'm just thinking Stefanski would walk through the door. Who knows? Right. But the other aspect, and they were talking about this on Nick Foles' podcast, and it made me like think even more. I was like, if let's just say after you guys lost, the next morning Sirianni gets fired. He is not getting another head coaching job. Yeah, he's getting interviews, but he's not getting another one. There's no way that he's getting another one.
You're talking about this year, right?
Yes, there's no way he get interviews, but he's not getting it.
I don't think he would, because the thing is, as good as he was, or as good as it was to get to 2 Super Bowls and win one, when your head coach doesn't do really, like when your head coach has a very, very limited role, like it's part of the reason why Dan Campbell can't get to a Super Bowl.
I don't entirely agree with that, because there was a head coach who had won a Super Bowl, won it a decent amount of time ago, who didn't call plays on either side of the ball, whose coordinators did the play calling on both sides of the ball, and he just got a 5-year deal with the New York Giants.
Because he's John flipping Harbaugh.
Yeah, but Harbaugh's a better locker room guy.
But Harbaugh is one of the NFL's best coaches. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. You can't compare Sirianni to a Hall of Fame head coach.
I'm not saying they're the same coach. All I'm saying is you got a coach, a guy who's won 1 Super Bowl ring, a guy who doesn't call plays on either side of the ball, a guy who's got a winning record in terms of head coaching, in terms of being a head coach, and or a high winning percentage, whatever you want to call that.
Who cares? He's a Hall of Fame head coach. Anyone would hire him in a heartbeat. Sirianni's not even close to the Hall of Fame. He's not going to get there in 20 years. No way. I don't care the amount of unless he wins like 2 more, he's getting in.
Think
both
about
the Harbaugh coaches are getting into the Hall of Fame.
Think about Harbaugh's career, and same thing with Tomlin. Look at those two at both of them, and what they've gotten out of really, really bad rosters. To me, if you gave Sirianni the kind of rosters that they've had, that Eagles team wins 5 games.
Exactly.
That's where I differ, because the thing is, we've had a Super Bowl caliber roster since 22. Now we've made 2 of them, and a lot of times too, and they've even admitted this, that even at times this season when the offense did have moments where it got going, there was literally reports, and not even just reports, it was pretty much confirmed that Jalen and AJ would have to go off script and make plays happen themselves because things just weren't working. So it was like that when you have that kind of talent that can get through it, it looks better than really what it is. And the thing is, like, when you look at the kind of guys like Harbaugh, never had the receiving core that Nick Sirianni has. Harbaugh never had, until pretty much Derrick Henry, never really had the same running game that Nick Sirianni's had. They've Baltimore's never had the same offensive line Philly's had. Baltimore had the defense back in, was that 2013 when they won? They had that.
Something like that.
But it's like, but when I look at it, like, overall, like, he won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. That does mean a lot. Joe Flacco was never a top 10 quarterback, in the NFL. So it's like, when I look at what Harbaugh's done with less and what Tomlin's done with less, because those guys both have a Super Bowl too.
I do also want to add, they didn't just win a Super Bowl. They went up against arguably the greatest quarterback of this generation and won by 34 points. I do want to add that part.
That is true. It's like, I just think that when you have when you have 2 guys like that who I mean, first of all, we've always heard the rumblings of that, and we've seen it, that Nick supposedly loses the locker room. I don't remember Harbaugh really losing the locker room ever in seasons, or Tomlin, or anything like that. Like those guys.
I mean, respectfully, I remember plenty of instances where there was locker room issues in Pittsburgh with guys like Le'Veon Bell, LeGarrette Blount.
But that's just because AJ Brown was nice, bro. Because Antonio Brown was a basket case.
But okay,
so was AJ Brown.
How much of it? Because here's the thing: when those basket cases, as Brandon put it, had those issues, it was all on them for being. And by the way, Tomlin
we don't know that this isn't all on them at the same time.
Really quick.
I'm listening.
Tomlin. So Le'Veon Bell did it was when Periscope was a thing, which I'm so sad that isn't a thing anymore.
What the hell's Periscope?
Periscope was Twitter's live stream thing back in the day. It was basically before what we're on now and all of this and all these different sites. Periscope was the first one that was really mainstream.
So it's like the first version of Instagram Live type of thing.
Yeah, it was Periscope essentially. So he was on Periscope in 2016, in the damn locker room, being weird, doing all stuff that should never be public. And Tomlin eviscerated him.
Yeah.
Especially privately. This is not allowed. So that's a good example of just a guy who's very in control, regardless of the locker room environment. He's still very much in control of that, especially when things go off the rails, like a guy being on live in an area where you absolutely should never put that on flipping Twitter.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, but on the flip side, you could also say that for all of these so-called reports, I mean, it wasn't even this past year, it was last year that we were hearing about, there's discord between Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, or there's, issues with this, that, or the other. I think that
I think this year was.
I feel like you can also make the counterpoint that it not bubbling over like it did in that Pittsburgh situation, it not getting to a point not that literally exact point, but it not getting to a point like that is a point in the favor of how the Eagles locker room was run.
The thing is, when you have that many, and I get it, there is some Eagles stuff going on in the media. I get that piece. Aside from that, the fact that there's that many reports about that situation shows how bad it was, and it shows how Sirianni just didn't handle it. Go ahead, Brandon.
And the one thing I will say, and why it differs a little bit, when the Steelers had their issues, is the level of play. Never with Steelers football, the level of play when they had their issues never changed. The team was still still not winning games. Their records were pretty much always the same.
They were still a 500 team.
They were still able. They were still able to get over the hump. I mean, with those three, with the Killer Bees, they were a playoff team. They just collapsed every year at the end of the year. That was more so on the players, not the coaching. But I'm
glad you just said that, because it was on the players, not the coaches, has been my argument about this season the whole damn time.
Yeah, but you got to think about it this way too, is that, but we know that the coaching is...
not Patullo. I mean, we've talked about that ad nauseum.
But that's the point. You can't say the season is on the players and not the coaches if your most important coach on your offensive side is brain dead on how to call plays.
I mean, what I said just a couple of days ago, I'll reiterate, and I shouldn't have been that emphatic just then, because what I said was in the beginning of the season, I said it was more on the players. As the season wore on, it was clear that was also on the offensive side of the coaching.
100%.
What I'm trying to get towards is both this year when they had the mini collapse, and then of course the awful wild card game. You know, the thing is the tension within the locker room grew louder and louder and louder. And the reports got filled up more. In 2023, when they completely collapsed, it was the same kind of things. And then like last year, I don't believe that, because it was only a couple reports. It wasn't like it was all year long. But in 23 and this year, the reports were nonstop pretty much all year long. And then it got worse. And then, of course, the thing is, the level.
They had to buy a damn bunny. They had to buy a damn bunny to try to figure it out. A stupid
Yeah.
bunny.
Positivity rabbit.
Okay. Okay. I think okay, let's
Whatever
not
it
make.
is.
I don't want to make. Let's not make that more than it is. A backup running back trying to do something fun in the locker room.
I don't care.
We used
You
to
guys had
see
to
Joe
buy a-
Madden. We used to see Joe Madden bring snakes into the locker room, and he won a World Series.
I don't care. You had such a bad locker room that a guy who, look, he's a veteran, right? We love veterans in locker rooms. Had to just said, hey, you know what? I am so upset with this locker room. I'm buying a damn bunny. Jesus Christ.
Okay. Let me just be clear. He saw it in the store and decided to buy it. This guy did not go out with a shop. This guy did not go out with a shopping list trying to find a positivity bunny at Walmart.
That's God.
Anyway,
it's crazy.
But I know we wanted to get on to other things, but I think that was a really good conversation, and I'm glad that we
we're not talking about the Eagles on Sunday. There it is.
For everybody waiting for baseball, now we are going to get into baseball.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to make one last thing, not about what we just talked about. I'm going to make one last thing though, because I had mentioned that there was that everything that I was seeing this week and I want to see if you guys agree with this, but it keeps seeming to me like it's leading in one direction. So we've heard the four guys, right? We've heard the Stefanski, the Daboll, the Kingsbury, and all that. How many times? I think it's been 3 times now this week that we've seen different reporters emphasize team sources saying that the offensive coordinator is going to have full autonomy over the offense, full autonomy over the coaches, full autonomy over the personnel, the scheming, all that.
Right.
If you guys remember, it was either last year or 2 years ago when the Eagles, no, it was 2 years ago when the Eagles were trying to get a new offensive coordinator to replace, I think it was Brian Johnson.
Yep. They
had interviewed Cliff Kingsbury, and the reason he didn't take the job is because he wanted more power over the offense than they were willing to give him. And also having his name be one of the 4 this year, I'm getting things are lining up to me that make me feel like Cliff Kingsbury is going to be the next offensive coordinator.
I would love it. Yeah, I'd love it actually. I'd love it.
I'm torn. Like just because I've seen a lot of things. Well, and here's a good thing. Whenever Philly's had a good offense,
I never put my headset on.
We've made use of RPOs, whether it was Shane Steichen, whether it was a little bit of Kellen Moore, but Kellen Moore mixed in a couple of things, but we still ran a few RPOs.
Yes.
Now, the one thing that does scare me, and it's not because Jalen's not an able passer, just I don't think this offense should go towards an air raid style. I don't think that works. Because
I'm not against that thought. I'm not against that thought.
Because I'm just like I don't like. Listen, anything is better than what Kevin Patullo came up this year.
Oh.
That's fact.
That's yeah.
But it's like and listen, the air raid style kind of worked with Jaden Daniels, but the thing is like I just don't like an air raid style, and I like the design run aspect of it, but I don't want Jalen to get hit more than he has to either. And especially at this point in his career where he's not quite as fast as he was when he came into the league. So I really, and the thing is, I don't want an air raid, especially just because these receivers, I don't think with like as much as we have good receivers, we have a top duo in the NFL. I don't trust AJ Brown's hands anymore, and I don't. And the thing is,
I don't think AJ Brown ever plays another game for us again.
No, I don't.
And the thing is, even so, like the only guy on this offense right now that can create separation is Devontae Smith. And so, like, if your air raid offense is going to be predicated on pretty much getting Devontae Smith the ball because he's the only one that creates separation, all those other guys are just going to struggle. I feel like.
Well, I do also want to add the fact we haven't hit free agency yet. We haven't hit the draft yet. This is not what the offense is going to. This is not what the offense is going to look like.
No way.
I'm just thinking like just preliminary, like what I'm thinking about with the air raid style. Like,
what I'd love to know is that if they're going to give him the OC that much autonomy over the offense, is he going to get to have say in some of the draft? But I'd be very curious.
I would
100%.
Because
100%.
Because they gave Vic that same kind of thing for the defense.
I do also think that especially if they bring in somebody who has head coaching experience, I do think that also puts puts Nick more on the hot seat because if they struggle out the gate, I think that they won't hesitate to cut bait and then move whoever the OC is.
Yeah.
And actually, the biggest point about the air raid, which I also don't like, is this team should not be running plays out of shotgun that often. We're not.
Yeah, shotgun's rough.
We shouldn't be a shotgun. We shouldn't be a shotgun team. We should be under center more.
That's fair. I mean, and I'll say this kind of tongue in cheek. You guys know that I can't stand the West Coast offense, but that's just because I don't understand why play calls are 38 words long.
It's funny. It's funny when we do those seminars with Shane, I understand it more.
I quote unquote understand it because each group only has to listen for their bit. Like I understand that point, but if so many other offenses are able to be run and thrive without doing that, it just feels so damn unnecessary to me.
No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
It feels like you have an opportunity to go and buy a smartphone, but instead you're doing your math on an abacus. But anyway, that being said, we are going to kick now over into baseball because for those who have or haven't been following, 5 days from now we've got the Baseball Hall of Fame. I keep saying Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, but it's actually just the Baseball Hall of Fame induction announcement rather that's going to be happening for the induction, which will take place in July of 2026, and it's going to be an interesting year, I think, because, and we all talked about this before the show, it looks like this is going to be either a very small class. I think there's a very good chance nobody gets in this year.
Can I do my yearly one thing I'm pissed on baseball situation really fast?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is this kind of a shoot off of last night? Because
the kinda. Baseball is not 2 words anymore. Why is it still BBWA? This is stupid. Why is this allowed? Why are these people these old heads are stupid? Baseball is not 2 words.
I've had to do things related to the BBWAA for like 14 years, and that's never really been something I've fixated on. And now that you've said it, it's going to piss me off.
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
Colin Cowherd said it one year, and it stuck with me forever. So there you go. Yeah, baseball is not 1 word. It's 1 word now. Change your name.
The one episode of The Herd apparently that I missed, but
yes,
but yeah. So
so there you go. I pissed you off more about this old head.
Yeah, about the BBWAA. But so just want to real quick. There's an online Major League Baseball Hall of Fame voting tracker, which is run thanks to a couple of people. One by the name, and this is kind of the one who runs it, but by the name of Ryan Thibodeau. Shout out to Ryan Thibodeau, who basically keeps track of every publicly known ballot and sort of tracks what level of percentage of the vote that's known those each player has. And also adds not only the breakdown of each ballot that's been posted publicly, but goes so far as to say what the percentage of remaining ballots a guy must have to either stay on the ballot or to get inducted. So this guy breaks it down remarkably.
So it's kind of like a presidential election, isn't it?
Yes. So shout out to Ryan Thibodeau. Just as a refresher to anybody, you need 75% of votes in order to be elected to the Hall of Fame. And so for right now, I'll just read. There are 5 guys who have over 50% of the vote. There's almost 30 guys on the ballot, but for time's sake, I'll just name the guys that are on the top that have 50% or more this year. At the number 5 spot, it's former Mariners ace Felix Hernandez, who has 57.7%. Almost definitely not going to get to the 75 mark this year, but if he does get there eventually in the future years, that won't surprise me at all. Number 4 is Andy Pettitte. He's just above King Felix at 58.2%. And then now you get into the top 3, which are the guys that the only guys that I think have a realistic shot at all of making it this year. Number 3 is Chase Utley. He has 69.2%. So he's going to have to get a bump in the remaining 52% of ballots that haven't been revealed yet. Is going to have to get a bump in voting in order to get in to cross that threshold. But he's just hanging in right below there at 69.2%. And then the 2 that if voting numbers hold up as they are right now, these 2 would get in. We've got Andrew Jones at 84.6%, and we've got Carlos Beltran at 90% flat. So that's what we're dealing with right now. And obviously, as I mentioned, there's like almost 30 other players that I didn't mention who have 43% of the vote or lower. And about 11 guys right now who track to fall off the ballot, and falling off the ballot is when you fail to achieve even 5% of the vote. So now I'm not going to go player by player, obviously, for the same reasons why I just tried to condense that. But we'll just kind of go through a few names and just kind of talk about them individually. Rob, since you're the one who kind of came in saying that you weren't quite as, fully ingrained in this whole process, were there any names specifically that jumped out at you that you wanted to talk about?
Well, what I really wanted to speak on is something that I've kind of cultivated. I started cultivating it when Eli Manning was on the ballot last year. And it was kind of my basis for why Eli should be a Hall of Famer. We know he's going to get in eventually, so I'm not too worried about it. But I was wondering how this translates to different sports and if this is a good system. And I understand the steroid era kind of muddles it a little bit for baseball, but stick with me here. So
Right.
my question, my new criteria for the Hall of Fame, like the criteria that I'm going to try to cultivate moving forward, and hopefully at some point we get some votes for different Hall of Fames. I definitely would love an NFL vote at some point.
That'd be really cool.
I hope so, especially considering a lot of the guys that we grew up with are going to be on the ballot moving forward.
Yeah.
The thing I've cultivated is in let's say, screw it, 15 to 20 years, we have children, a couple kids, and you want to, and I'm like, oh, I want to teach you about, in this case, baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And my criteria for the Hall of Fame is if I'm going to sit my kid down or anyone's kid and talk about the history of the sport, am I going to mention this player, let's say in a positive capacity, in a capacity where they're like, I cannot talk about the history of the sport without this player. And so that's how I feel about Eli. Statistics aside, you can't talk about the sport of the NFL without Eli Manning and those Super Bowls and all these different things.
Really the Manning family. Yeah.
Really the Manning family as a whole. So I wonder how this translates to baseball. Do you think that changes how you guys view this section of players? Let me know if you think this makes some sense.
It makes sense. It's just, I think that does leave some gray area that's kind of hard to, like, I feel like there's certain players where it depends on the level of detail to which I go, because I think there are certain players who I can tell the story of baseball in a better way by including them, but I don't think to just tell the story of baseball offhand without thinking about it like that much. I don't think their names would automatically come to my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
that's kind of where I would have to hang up on that specifically.
And that's fair, and that's why I asked the question, because I'm still trying to cultivate
I think
this thought process.
I think the best example this year that I can give of that is Dustin Pedroia. Dustin Pedroia is probably somebody who falls short for me of voting for him for the Hall of Fame, unfortunately. Largely based on the fact that his injuries really truncated the duration of his career, unfortunately.
It's the same thing with David Wright for me too.
Yeah, I agree. But if you're going to fully tell the story of the 21st century baseball, particularly Pedroia, but I think you can make the case for Wright as well, but particularly Pedroia, you can't talk about the reverse of the curse of the Bambino and not include Dustin Pedroia's name on both those World Series that they won in the 2000s.
Yeah. No, that's fair. It's so tough, because I'm still kind of old school. When I look at baseball players, or really any players when they're up for Hall of Fame consideration. To me, the Basketball Hall of Fame is a joke. They let anybody in.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
I'm definitely. I'll say this in advance. I'm definitely a small hall guy.
Fair. When I think about the two Hall of Fames and that really everybody talks about, and it's obviously baseball and football, and I'm always a numbers guy first, and then what was their impact in their era.
Yeah.
So I like when I look at like Dustin Pedroia and how great those Red Sox teams were, it's like, yeah, he was one of the catalysts of those teams. Like that's really hard to leave him off as like a footnote. He's not a footnote in Red Sox history. He's a hero and a legend. So it's just, but it's like guys like that, and there's guys even on this ballot that I look at and I'm like, well, you know, there's a lot of them on there where I'm just like, okay, you were good for your teams, but you were never like a top 10 player at your position in your era. You were never like, there's a lot of like little nuances to this. And like, I mean, I'll just run through like the names that I would have put in if I had a vote. I would have put in Beltran. Now, regardless of the Astros scandals, I would have put in Beltran. Just because he's one of the best switch hitters of the modern era. He is. And not just that, but I mean, all the numbers speak for themselves. So, and I just think that when you combine, he has the OPS plus of a Hall of Fame player. He's got the OPS. He's got enough homers, enough RBIs. He's got over 2,700 hits. He checks off a lot of the boxes. Multiple Gold Gloves, multiple Silver Sluggers. He's got a Rookie of the Year award. He's been in the MVP conversation. He's a multiple-time All-Star. So all these different things to me factor into him. Like, to me, he's in. I think Andrew Jones is in because you can't talk about baseball from the 90s on without talking about Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones was one of the best players of that era.
What a spelling of Andrew, by the way. That's a great.
Yeah, it's because he's from Curacao.
That's sick. That's sick. I love it.
So it's a little bit different. You've got that, but Andrew Jones to me has the homers. I mean, listen, doesn't have a ton of hits. The back half of his career was hurt a lot, but he did so much in that first half. There's Pringles again.
Pringles wants a vote in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
He's also got the above 100 OPS plus, which once you start getting above pretty much 110 ish, you start talking about a really good baseball player. So
what does the plus mean again?
So the plus means it's like adjusted for not only the parks but the league in which you play. So 100 is league average, and basically the way it's used is like if you get a 103, if you're 103, basically you considered 3% better offensively than league average.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
So pretty much like when I start thinking about like those kinds of players and really good players, like Beltran was, I think they said it was he was at 117, 119.
Beltran's at 119.
Yeah, and then you got Andrew Jones here at 111. But once again, multiple times the MVP conversation. He was in top 5 in Rookie of the Year. He's got multiple Gold Gloves. He's an All-Star.
Generally, the 110s of OPS plus, generally that wouldn't be enough for me. But when you add the elite defense to it, that's where you start getting to the package for me.
And if the thing is, he's got 434 career home runs. You always talk about 500 being like the benchmark as to you being a lock to get in. If he wasn't as injured as he was second half of his career, he would have blown past 500 home runs. So. Right.
And I think you can also give him the fact that he played center field, which was a physically demanding position.
Yeah, it's a very hard position. So I think Andrew Jones is in. I get the case for Utley, but Utley was never the best fielder at his position, and he was never like the best hitter. I mean, he was good.
Can you make the case that on those late 2000s teams of 08 and 09 when they went back to back to the World Series? Can you make the case that he kind of was right there with Jimmy Rollins in terms of the catalyst for those teams, though?
I was gonna say I think Jimmy Rollins is better than Chase Utley. So I when I think about those teams, those two were great as a middle infield, but I like Jimmy Rollins more. So I wouldn't even have Utley when I think that Rollins is the better player overall, especially with the Gold Gloves, so that, and Rollins, I think Rollins had 9 Gold Gloves. So
the problem that I have with Rollins is, for me, I don't think his defense. I don't think his defense goes to the level where it makes up for what's basically average or below average offense. That's the problem that I have.
Let me ask this question as a learning baseball kind of guy. How do you measure a guy's glove and defense? What do you look for?
There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things, and quite honestly, for a while they were not doing a great job of having a great way of doing that. They've only just recently really started to focus more on how to actually analyze defense. They've started, I don't want to say coming out with more stats because that's not what it is. It's just they've had new ways of tracking things. Mm-hmm. There's different range-based statistics, which self-explanatory there. Mostly for things like shortstop, second base, and center field. There's different ones that there's one that's called defensive runs saved. There's one that's called outs above average. Those are pretty similar in terms of, again, basically juxtaposing a guy at a position versus somebody else at a position. How many more runs are they on average going to save versus another player at their position? And then for catching, it's this whole different element. They've really gotten into the. They've really gotten into a new level of breaking down and looking at catching. I mean, you guys know like the framing pitches and whatnot was barely even considered a thing that's talked about much in baseball media. And then the last kind of 11 years or so, that's really caught on. So I would say there's a number of different things, Rob. What I would say is that one thing that's really not looked at as much anymore is just raw total errors. Because and that's for myriad different reasons. Excuse me. I'm not saying that I don't factor those in anymore because I definitely do. I mean, if a guy easily leads the league in errors at his position, then I probably am going to have an issue with that. The thing that I would say indifferent from that is the one exception I might make is if a guy, like let's say player A has 100 errors and player A has 75 or player B has 75. But if player A has played 2,000 more innings than player B, then
there's an average. There's an average involved.
Relatively speaking, you got to keep that in mind as well. So, but also just Gold Gloves in general. I think people are really starting to pay less and less attention to those because the last few years there have been guys who got Gold Gloves who people are like, how did that even happen? And then it's like almost any other award. You know what I mean?
Like that's the thing is like when I look at Gold Gloves, like I look at it as like a in a certain era it mattered. So like when I think about like Rollins having those 4 Gold Gloves, he did it in an era where it's like he was a good infielder. Right. So like because nowadays because everything gets watered down eventually, and we talk about all these different stats and whatnot, and all these different awards, and so it's like to me, the era in which they won it kind of matters also, and it's one of the things I think about. Like, but I wouldn't put Rollins would be a tough guy to put in just because the OPS plus is under 100. He was close to average pretty much offensively. So it's hard because the defense was there, but I still think that he was the more important player to those Phillies teams than Chase Utley was. So I wouldn't put either of them in, I guess. But then you look at you keep going down the ballot, like A-Rod and Manny, we know because of roids. That's unless you do what we said before we went on and said, hey, you put a roid wing in the hall.
Can I say what I said because I thought it was funny? I want a roid wing in the Hall of Fame, and this wild corner. And you have to get roided before you walk in to be eligible to get into it.
They basically have to do what they do with like Bane and Batman and just shoot the stuff into them.
Yeah, oh Jesus, he doesn't know Bane. This is a problem. He doesn't know who Bane is.
This is what we have the off season for. Once the Super Bowl ends and we do this whole pop culture podcast later.
Is this where the phrase "Bane of my existence" came from?
No,
I think it was before that.
That was before that. Bane is one of the most popular DC villains ever. He's amazing.
Once again, you could line up 50 different villains or heroes and tell me to point and say, is this Marvel or DC? And if I get 20 of them right, it's on dumb luck.
That should be that should be the first thing we do on the podcast is that. I want to see how many he can get right.
I
promise you, if I get more than 3 right, that's literally just off of random chance.
I will say I'm surprised that it's taking so long for Bobby Abreu to get in.
Yeah, well, he is somebody who's on my ballot this year.
Yeah, I like, to me, he should get in. I mean, the OPS plus speaks for itself. It's 128. It's high. Guy was a great hitter for so many years.
Also, I don't think we can overlook this. 288 homers and 400 stolen bases.
Yes.
Like, you're talking like that. Like that's Willie Mays and not many others.
Yeah, like that's what's crazy. And then, like, we will. A lot of people will talk about, because we just talk about the roids guys, and we talk about Andy Pettitte with the HGH stuff, but and how kind of murky that area gets. But because they weren't, as we know, they weren't testing for that at the time, and Chuck Knobloch actually at one point threw Andy Pettitte under the bus and said, he said, because when Andy Pettitte was first put on the ballot for Hall of Famer, and they were like, oh, are they gonna bury it was something stupid, but they're like, oh, are they gonna
I get the gist, yeah.
Yeah, are they gonna bury this guy like they buried Pettitte's HGH testimony or something like that? It was something crazy. And then a caller actually called in and responded and said, well, if you took HGH, you'd reach first base. So that was pretty good.
You know who's become remarkably annoying in terms of former players talking about the game today?
Who?
Rich Goose Gossage.
Yeah. He's Mr. Get Off My Lawn.
Absolutely. It's so freaking annoying. I'm sorry, go on.
But the thing is, I think when I think of Petty, you can't think about the dynasty Yankees. You can't think about the Yankees as a whole without mentioning what's quote unquote the core four. And it's like, and Pettit is one of the best big game postseason pitchers of all time.
Yep.
So Pettit should get in.
Yankees are a 113-year-old franchise, and I think Pettit's still the greatest starting pitcher in Yankees history.
There definitely is a case to be made. So I think Pettit should get in, because the thing is, Pettit also said on multiple occasions, even now that we know more about the whole steroid stuff, he's like, I literally only took HGH for one season to come back from an injury quicker. He's like, that's the only reason I took it. And
again, this is my thing with the steroids, and then I'll go through my players real quick. This is the issue. Here's the thing for me. There's a big difference between using HGH before they were testing for it, or using substances back in the late 90s when
breaking the rules.
When Major League Baseball was actively benefiting from what it was doing in the home run race and yada 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 in the late 90s, and either failing a test in 2015 or 2012, whenever it was that Manny Ramirez failed a second test, and he retired so he wouldn't face a 100-game suspension with, I think it was Tampa, or failing a test or the whole biogenesis thing with guys like A-Rod. Like there is nuance to each of these situations.
Exactly.
It is, and so that's why, like, when I look at the ballot this year, like guys like a Pettit, for example, I look at differently than I look at guys like a Manny Ramirez or an Alex Rodriguez or there was one other guy on here, a Ryan Braun.
Yeah.
So I look at those guys differently. And that's why Pettit would be on my ballot, but Rodriguez, Manny, and Braun would not be.
So it's like, so as I keep going through the list, because I know we can talk about this all night, but so the guys currently that I have in, because I think I have a couple more that I want to talk about that get in for me. So I have Beltran in, Jones in, Pettit in, Bobby Abreu in, so that's 4. And then when I go all the way down to the rest of them, I've talked about some of them already. I get down to then the last guy on the ballot right now, at least on the Baseball Reference website, the last guy on the ballot right now that's not a first timer. And I think he should get in. I think he did enough, and he was a really good center fielder for a long time, really good outfielder for a long time. Torrey Hunter. I think Torrey Hunter should get in. I mean, I don't know what ballot it'll be, but it's kind of, to me, it's disrespectful that he's not, that people aren't considering him enough. I mean, the guy had, I mean, just from a pure, just when we dive, you could dive into deeper numbers, but just from a pure face value number standpoint, over 2,400 hits, 277 average, 793 OPS, 110 OPS plus. Okay, it's all right, but he's got almost, he's got over 350 home runs in his career, over almost 1,400 RBIs. And I look at him too. It's like the guy also has, back when Gold Gloves meant something, he also has 9 Gold Gloves. He has a ton of them. He was a great outfielder. So I look at it and I'm like, okay, to me, that's enough to put him in. Torrey Hunter's a guy that I've been talking about for years that I really hope would get in. Because really his only 2 bad years. He had 2 back-to-back years in Minnesota early in his career as an outfielder. But then every year since that, he was never at the top of the league in errors among the outfielders. And I mean, and he more than made up for it with a lot of pretty much sparkling plays. Was always in the MVP race for a few years. So I think that, to me, he did enough to get in. Then I look at the last guys. That's 5. So to update the list, it's Beltran, Jones, Pettit, Abreu, and Hunter. And then my last guy on the list, and he's a first-timer, and I think he should get in, is Cole Hamels. Cole Hamels, to me, deserves to get in. Hamels is one of those guys where, once again, you talk about the Phillies and how good they were for so long. You can't talk about it without mentioning the pitching staff. And that, of course, was spearheaded by a couple guys, but definitely Cole Hamels. The guy, look, just at face value. And remember, wins and losses get overblown nowadays for pitchers. So I tend not to look at that anymore. But I look at the 3.40, the 3.43 ERA, which is still really good. A ton of innings pitched. Actually, like a ton, almost 2,700 innings pitched. He's got over 2,500 strikeouts in his career and topped 200 multiple times. At one point, there was 1 year where he led the NL in WHIP, and usually had a pretty low WHIP. And hell, there was even 1 year where he had a WHIP that was under 1.0. It was 0.986, which is unheard of, almost.
Especially in this day and age.
And the fact that he never won a Cy Young, to me, is crazy. Because there were years where I think he could have, like 2012.
Yeah,
he probably could have. I think 2011, like those kind of 2010 to 2012 years when he was in his prime, he could have. Cole Hamels, to me, is the last guy that gets in. So those are my 6 guys that I have in. If I had a ballot, those would be the 6 guys I would put in this year.
Makes sense. I think that's a gret list, and I'm not surprised that you got nowhere near 10 as I didn't either. Just looking at the list, because the names, obviously the 3 names that are dominating the conversation for pretty much everybody are excuse me, sorry. I'll say the 4 names actually are Alex Rodriguez. As I just said, I don't have him on. Manny Ramirez, I don't have him on. Carlos Beltran, I'm sorry. I know that this is a back and forth thing for a lot of people. I'm putting him on before the Houston thing. I'm not putting him on after. The New York Mets fired him before he even managed a game over that thing, and he hasn't been offered a managerial position since. Like it's, and that's not the reason why I'm not putting him on there, but there's clearly certain things, like when you're looking at, like, you're keeping this, like if you're talking about keeping the steroid guys out, what is it? Performance enhancing substances. Yeah. This was a performance enhancing system, if you want to call it that. Like it had enough of an effect. And I'm sorry, I get that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's in the Hall of Fame already if he doesn't spearhead that in Houston. But
so then when he retires, you're gonna leave Jose Altuve off too, right?
So here's why I'm not gonna say yes or no, but here's the reason why I'm divided on that right now. because it's well documented that there are 3 players who did not partake in that system and then opted out, or not opted out, but like actively chose not to use that. And Altuve is one of them. Altuve's numbers did not drastically increase or decrease.
Altuve wore a mic.
No.
What do you mean?
Rob, go back and look. There are 3 names. It was him, Brian McCann, and Tony Kemp. Those are the 3 that.
Okay, fair.
Like,
okay.
And so that is having, like, for example, Carlos Correa, Alex Bregman, for me, they're done. But Altuve is a different situation because of that. And you can actually see, if you go back and look, there's been people who have broken down like the numbers of how people have done. And you can see guys like Marwin Gonzalez or guys like Josh Reddick, how their performances went up with those things. That you can literally see that there's the number of how many times there was a hit while he was at bat is one of the lowest on the whole team. So I do look at that, but to come back to this one, but I appreciate that question, because that is going to be relevant in a few years.
It will get talked about when he retires.
It will, and I'm looking forward to that conversation, because it's an interesting conversation to have. Because a few years ago, before that all came out, I would have said he's absolutely out, but then that started to come out, and I started to see what, not just passing, but like what people who had nothing to do with Houston were talking about, and what all the people who had kind of admitted these things were starting to divulge, and they all said independently it was those same 3 guys. And I just feel like I feel like if you're gonna put Altuve in there, I feel like Tony Kemp is a weird one to throw in there if you're just making shit up. But that's the case for me for those 3 guys. Andrew Jones, I vacillated on for one main reason, and that's the horrible legal situations he's gotten himself into since his retirement. That I really struggled with that. At the end of the day, if I'm just voting purely based on baseball itself, that's how he gets in for me. I don't like the idea of showing advocacy or support for somebody who has that in their closet. But if I'm looking purely at them as a baseball player for a baseball recognition, to me, again, going back to Rob's point of, can you tell the story? You cannot tell the story of those mid-90s Brave teams without including Andrew Jones. So Andrew Jones for me is on my ballot. Bobby Abreu is on my ballot. Andy Pettitte and I won't talk much about Abreu or Pettitte, because you just got to a lot of those, but for a lot of the same reasons, I have the same. And then that's where I really started to struggle. I looked at Omar Vizquel a little bit, because he has a very similar situation to Andrew Jones.
The legal issues, and I think his legal issues. I mean, not to compare them, but I think just based on how I feel, I think the legal issues for Vizquel are worse.
I agree with that, but also what I'll say is, even if you isolate that variable, Vizquel was nowhere near the offensive performer that Jones was. So even if you're still isolating everything about their comparative, or the level of comparativeness of their legal issues, I think that Vizquel's case is severely weakened by the fact that, like, this is a guy who had almost 3,000 games played, and he hit 80 career home runs. 80 career home runs with an OPS of under 700. He would be automatically one of the worst non-dead ball era players in the Hall of Fame offensively.
Yeah, because they always bring up his hits, but that's because the guy played for 23 years too.
Again, like stat padding is kind of a thing there. So really for me, after you get through guys like Jones, Abreu, and Pettitte, I keep the one guy I keep really vacillating on is Chase Utley. I really could go either way on him, and I'm leaving him off largely because of that. Because if I can go either way on you, I'm going to lean against it. I'm sure there's possibility of me being able to be talked into putting him in, but if I'm 50-50 on you, that's not enough for me to put you on a ballot like that. And then you keep going down the list. Cole Hamels was, again, somebody I was sort of I was looking at. I didn't quite get there for his first ballot. I can see myself voting for him down the road, but on his first ballot, it's not it's not happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't say first. Yeah.
Yeah. And then really the last two or the last three guys that I really look at here, I unfortunately for me with both Pedroia and Hernandez, unfortunately just did not play long enough, and it's unfortunate because I think both were shoe in surefire Hall of Famers had they gotten to a certain length in their careers, and even so, you can make the argument I think that 14 or 15 years should be long enough, but it's also just not the number of years they played, but how much time was missed while they were playing. So they fall just short for me. And then the last name that I really bring up, or the last two names that I really bring up and look at are Jimmy Rollins. But Jimmy Rollins is another example for me of his, as much as he accomplished from a personality standpoint and a defensive standpoint, his offense just doesn't do it for me. Hitting 264, 743 OPS, 95 OPS plus just doesn't get there for me.
Yeah.
And the last guy that I really bring into the conversation there is Mark Burley, who I think was actually a pretty underrated pitcher. He is not done any favors by his ERA, which is 3.81, but his ERA is actually right on par with what Andy Pettit's was, as is his ERA plus. They're literally identical at 117.
I will say, you know what helps Jimmy Rollins' case though?
What does?
The 470 stolen bases.
470 stolen bases definitely helps him, but unfortunately, Hall of Famers are just more powerful. No pun intended. I'm sorry, home runs are just more powerful. No pun intended than stolen bases are. It's one thing if it's a guy like Ricky Henderson who literally has, or Lou Brock who literally has historic numbers of that.
Well, you got to think about the position too, though. No, like middle infielders don't hit a lot of home runs usually.
No. I'm not saying that I wanted to see him hit. I'm not saying that 231 homers can never make it, but I'm just saying that for the amount of games that he had, which was almost 2,300, just the averages themselves are what I'm really struggling with.
Yeah,
it's not. It's like even if you take the slugging 418 out of it, the 264 average, the 324 OBP, those are some of the low. Those are comparatively. Rollins has the fourth lowest batting average of anybody on here, and that's only higher than Encarnacion, Alex Gordon, and Andrew Jones. And of course, Andrew Jones, we've already talked about his the things that get him in, and he literally has the lowest OBP of any position player on here. Yeah. So it's unfortunate, but he has just too low offensive averages for me. But going back to Mark Burley, who's kind of the last guy over whom I really deliberated, and I don't think that Burley gets in because he's in his sixth year and he's not over 12% of the balloting. Burley was extremely consistent and extremely durable, which is one of the things that I think gets underrated. He never, except for his rookie season when he was a reliever, he never started fewer than 30 games. The guy was never hurt. The guy pitched 200 or more innings 14 years in a row, and his 15th year, which is his last season, he missed that by 1.1 innings. He was, they say the best ability is availability, and he literally was the epitome of that. He also was a 4-time Gold Glove winner as a pitcher. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I do think why though, it's kind of people are on the fence too, is because for a lot of innings pitched, a ton of them, to not even have 2,000 strikeouts.
Well, here's what I'll say. Yes, he definitely was not that much of a strikeout pitcher. What I will say also though is that he also was very low on the home runs allowed and very low on the walks allowed. So those things, who he actually kind of reminds me of in terms of somewhat low strikeout rates, a lot of Gold Gloves, things of that nature. But you know who I'm going to say?
Max Fried.
Yep. So Burley, I'm back and forth on. He's another example of somebody who I wouldn't vote for this year, but I can see myself being talked into if he gets close enough, but that he needs a jump toward those like 7, 8, 9 year. So yeah, all that to say that my bout is extremely small this year, including Bobby Abreu and excuse me one second, I'm pulling this back up. Including Bobby Abreu, Andy Pettit, excuse me, and Andrew Jones, and I think that was it.
Yeah, you had 3, I think you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that. And okay, Rob, do you want to use this time to segue into your golf points?
Yeah, so this is gonna be our last thing for the night. Just a quick thing on Brooks Koepka. I'm pretty upset about the whole Brooks Koepka thing because I think it mostly is just the main reason I'm upset is that it's an admission of guilt, and I think if you're like, I just think that's awful. So first, I'm just gonna go over what the whole. I got this from Google AI because they actually wrote it down pretty well. Everything that's going on with this in terms of what his penalties are, everything. So Brooks Koepka, he went to live. I think he got paid. I'm trying to remember what was his money per year. I think it was like $20 million plus. I'm sure it was a little bit more than that, but it was a lot of money. It was exorbitant. So Tiger Woods was offered $1 billion, by the way, to go to live. A billion with a B, and he said no. So honestly, respect that. Yep. He said he actually got offered $1 billion, and he said no. And then he created TGL. He created another thing to kind of get golf in a different space where, they have some fun stuff with TGL. TGL is really cool. It's on ESPN. Turn it on if you get a chance. It's a really unique. It's a really unique way of approaching golf. I think it's fantastic. Him and who else did it? It's him and Rory McIlroy that started that. It's amazing. It's I love TGL so much. I don't get a chance to watch it as much as I would like, but I love it. I love it so much. So Brooks Koepka, to me, this is an admission of guilt. And the other piece of it is what he's losing out on by coming back to the PGA. So I'll read everything that Google AI has wrote because this is just a perfect example of everything he's going through right now. I'm going to quote this. The new one-time program allows elite players, major winners between 22 and 25, who are off the tour for 2+ years to return under specific conditions. Brooks Koepka, 5-time major champion, is eligible based on his 2023 PGA win. He's eligible for TGL and other standard benefits across other leagues. They're not going to invite him into TGL, I don't think, unless I missed something over the last few days. Here are his penalties. These penalties are pretty damn severe. $5 million charitable donation. Oof. Ineligible for the FedEx Cup bonus program. So he makes the FedEx Cup. He's not making any of that damn money. And ineligible for the player equity program, which is just like this pool of money. And it's a lot of money. So, and then for signature events, he cannot receive sponsorship exemptions for signature events, but can qualify via on-court performance pathways, aka on a next swing or the swing in the next 10. So just very specific golf-based statistics that I don't know too much about. If you're going to live to take the money, and by the way, Fox is also involved in Live Now. They and broadcasters got paid I forgot, one of the broadcasters that was here who did Sounder stuff for a long time, and he was on NBC doing NBC soccer. He got paid I think upwards of $30 million a year to broadcast TGL, something crazy. 20, maybe 10 million, something insane. They offered Barkley 500. They offered Barkley an even more exorbitant amount of money, because obviously it's oil money. So they're just throwing money like it's no tomorrow. They don't care. But if you're taking this money and you're acknowledging that, hey, I'm going for the money, I'm going for whatever, right? Then why come back? If it's so contentious, why? And maybe it was contentious for for the live side, which I think I heard rumors or rumblings that there were issues there because they have a whole different system in terms of how they do golf. It's a team play and a bunch of these different things. But for you to come back and have to realize, first off, you're losing out on a ton of money, like a lot of money, because of all of these penalties that you have to incur. And then on top of the fact, you have to repair the relationship with the entire tour, from the commissioner of the tour down to the players that you're on the course with. To me, like, and I get it. To me, and I think, I don't know if he said it publicly. I don't know how much he said publicly, but to just do this is just an admission of guilt to me, and I just think it's a huge problem for Brooks Koepka's career. This guy's a Hall of Fame golfer.
Yeah.
To go about it this way and to do it this way, it leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouths. It really does. And then we're not even at the major tournaments. Wait till the Masters in April. How do you think people are going to feel in the Masters when you have live golfers and PGA golfers come together for the biggest tournament of the year? And here's Brooks Koepka sitting there going, "Hey, I'm back on the PGA. Hey, guys." And it's just like, and I think he won a Masters in his career. I'm pretty sure he did.
I think he did.
You're right. So not only that, you have the championship dinner on the Tuesday night with all the other winners. How do you think that's going to feel? I mean, just to me, it just like the way in which he went about this was so bad. And I get it. He decided to be reinstated. That's fine. But everything about this sounds so bad for so many respects. And it's just, he had this moral dilemma and he didn't think about it the right way.
Oh, actually, wait. He finished second in the Masters twice.
So he's not going to the championship dinner. Okay, that's fine. That kind of helps a little bit. But still, when you're on the Masters course, it's gonna leave a bad taste in people's mouths, right? So for me, I think if you're coming back, if you're Brooks Koepka and coming back after making all this damn money and then losing a lot of that money from all these penalties, or a good portion of it, even if it's small, $1 million are still not something to write home about. It's unbelievably bad. It's an admission of guilt, and it's a bad decision. It's bad in so many different ways. He just didn't think about it the right way, and that's what it is. And so, I think it's awful. He's gonna have a brutal time on the tour this year. The Sony Open is this weekend. It's the first PGA Tour event of the year. It's gonna be ugly this weekend for him. And his team and his family, and it's going to be awful. It's just going to be a year from hell for him this year, in every respect. So there you go.
All right. Brandon, any follow-ups to that?
I mean, as a casual viewer of golf, I mean, because I really don't watch it unless Rob basically, glues my eyeballs open and makes me watch it.
Because the Masters. I make you guys watch the Masters because you guys have to realize the Masters is amazing. And I'm not even a golf guy. I'm a casual golf guy too, but when the Masters is on, guess what? I watch it. Especially last year. Brandon, last year was amazing.
Oh yeah, it was.
It was amazing. That final round was amazing. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. Like golf to me is like it, it's just that it's so common. I'm like, is this a sport? I don't feel like it's a sport. I'm not getting into it enough. But when you think about just a lot of the it's crazy how pretty much since Tiger Woods changed the game, and then now, everything that happened with his legal issues, in the prime of his career, and then now
the injuries,
and now you've got this with Brooks Koepka. You got the Scotty Scheffler arrest.
That too.
You had all these it's just a lot of these weird things now with golfers that I can't keep up with, and I often think about just I don't look at golfers like it's weird for golfers to incur this amount of just debt to the sport and penalties is insane to me. When you hear about other players in other sports getting hit this hard, it's always like, oh yeah, a $50,000 fine or like 1 game suspension or whatever, like in other sports. With golf, it's like, oh no, we're talking about millions of dollars that you're going to be penalized and lose out on, and it's like that's really hitting them where it hurts. So yeah, it's actually insane to think about how golf is like that, where like in other sports you just don't see that.
Yeah, so because the PGA Tour top to bottom, is pissed. And by the way, let me also be frank about this whole thing. They are one entity now. Live and PGA are now one entity. They merged, like, I think a year after Live got on the scene, like a year and a half, 2 years. But for some reason, they decided to keep everything separate. I think a lot of it is cost incursions and a lot of money-based things. But it doesn't. But even though they merged, and there's this whole thing about them merging, it's not really an actual merger. There's still sour grapes in the PGA about this whole thing. They had to do the merger because if they didn't, golf would have died in 5 years. They had no choice. Right? So it's like, so yeah, PGA is pissed, especially considering that the PGA, which as dumb enough as it is, the PGA is a non-for-profit firm. And honestly, that's pretty stupid, but they are. They consider themselves a non-for-profit firm, and that's also part of why they're doing this, is to keep the non-for-profit tag on there. Because if they say, oh, we're giving you a $500 fine, then people are going to be like, what do you mean? You say you're a non-for-profit firm, but you make all this money. Like, and by the way, the Masters, that's also why the Masters, for example, is a great example of actual non-for-profit charity basis, because a lot of what they do is actually that. Tickets for the Masters are free. You just have to go in as quick as humanly possible and get the tickets. Because if you don't, scalpers take advantage of it and ask for hundreds of thousands of dollars. But Masters tickets has always been free. And then, like, also CBS and ESPN, and a Prime this year also got some of the rights for the Masters this year. They also have this whole thing where the Masters is like, no, you can't put that many commercials on a program. So, like, the Masters is also one of those programs that's very much that's why part of the reason we love the Masters is they very much care about golf in a very specific way. That has always been the case for the Masters. That is very much appreciated across the wide world of golf. And they have been that even with Live and their decision makings on Live golfers and those exemptions. But for the PGA, they also have to toe the line of, hey, we're a non-for-profit. And we still are, even with this merger. So, yeah, we're going to give you these penalties. Because if we don't, we're going to get knocked in the head by everybody. So there's also that push and pull, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's kind of the whole. To me, it's just an admission of guilt. And it's unfortunately one of the most awful situations golf could go through right now. In terms of just people approaching the sport, people wanting to watch the sport. This is going to be all over the Masters in April. It's going to shy away from everything Masters. Really, it's going to be so awful for the sport the whole way through the year. It really is.
It's really unfortunate. And, you know, because I'm somebody who grew up loving playing golf. I was on multiple golf teams. I played golf was really like the first sport I really learned to play and play most often. And I mean, I struggle watching it for any extended period of time, but
well, guess what? I'm going to glue you to the Masters final round on that Sunday, because that is one of the best things in the world.
Well, I was just going to say, when it comes to the majors and such, I do watch those.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing.
But I forget where I was going with that.
It's just sad for the sport. I think like, I can see that's where you're going. It is because it's a black eye for the sport. It is this whole thing,
and it's one where I'm not going to say they can't afford it, but it's in America in particular. Like, it's not a league or a sport like an NFL, for example, where you know that they'll weather the storm and you know that they will emerge. Not that they'll emerge unscathed, but they'll bounce back from whatever hit they take. Like, it's much more complex than that.
Oh my God, no way. And again, like, Liv is still going with a lot of their players. Like who did, like, Like, for example, John Rum said he's going back to live. DeChambeau said he's going back to live. Cam Smith said he's going back to live. All these other guys are going back, other than who are allowed to reinstate, other than Koepka. It says something. It really does, and that is it's a mess. It really is, and the Masters is going to be an ugly week. It's the most important golf tournament, and that's going to be an ugly, ugly week for everyone involved. It really is. And it should be a celebration of golf, but it won't. It will be an ugly week.
Excuse me. Well, hopefully we at least get some good golf out of it.
Yeah, I know. Hope so.
Brandon, do you have anything to add to that?
No, because listen, as a casual viewer of golf, I don't know the ins and outs of the game and whatnot, but I said what I had to say. I just think it's crazy that to think about how different that structure is compared to all the other professional sports. So
and the structure is because it's a non-for-profit. That's why.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I'm just not used to that. So
yeah, I know it's weird. It really is. Yeah.
All right. So, do I have time to ask one more question about an earlier topic that would be very quick, or should I save it for next week?
Just quickly. Yeah. What do you have in mind?
Okay. So going back to our football topic, real quick. Brandon.
Yep.
Just real quick, first name off your head. If you got your dream replacement for Coach Voldemort, it would be whom?
McDaniel for me.
Okay. Because I said I would put a list together, and I did. I'm not going to go through all of them because I got 9 names here, but the names we already talked about Kingsbury. Thomas Brown from the Patriots is another one I have written down who interests me. And this is a name that people are probably not going to like, but I think it's more interesting than people might originally give it credit for. Matt Nagy.
I don't hate that. I really don't. For me, I'm also with Brandon. It's McDaniel. I think McDaniel makes more sense.
And I'll say this: one of my biggest concerns about the McDaniel thing is that if we're talking about trying to get away from dysfunction and discord and poor chemistry and whatnot, I can't get past the Fangio difficulty there.
I hear that.
Yeah. So and similarly with Brian Dable, like the guy who benched Hurts at Alabama and led to his transfer to Oklahoma, I can't suddenly see that.
Apparently, they said that was more Saban than Dable.
It was more Saban. Yeah, it was Saban.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think Dable, from what I've read and from what I remember of that time period, Dable, Jalen, and Devontae Smith had a good relationship. So
that's good. Okay, so maybe the Dable thing. I mean, I obviously have my issues with McDable, but did I just say McDable? I obviously have my issues there, but that makes me less.
I want McDonald's now. Damn it!
I could go for McDonald's ice cream right now. But
bro, my ice cream machine broke at my local one. It finally broke.
It always breaks.
I was just gonna say, like, it isn't like I can't remember the last time that I heard someone say, "Oh, their ice cream machine works great."
No, mine worked great. Mine up the road works fine, and then apparently today it didn't work. From what I saw in the application.
Yeah, I had some other ones written down, but we'll get into those next week because we're already pushing hour 2, and we didn't even get to the international baseball stuff I wanted to talk about today. But anybody have anything to wrap up with before we sign off here for the evening?
Mike Tomlin to Fox looks like. Interestingly enough,
that should be interesting. Yeah.
Not CBS, Fox, and you know who's replacing? This is actually real. I saw this morning. You know who's replacing Matt Ryan for the 2 CBS games left?
Oh,
Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins will be on the NFL Today desk the next 2 weeks.
Somewhat doesn't surprise me.
Nope, not at all. I think he's great. I'm actually excited.
Well, I guess we can no longer say he doesn't show up for primetime games.
Oh my god.
Oh Jesus!
God, no, that was good. That one caught me off guard.
That was really good. But yeah, no, Kirk Cousins is great, man. I'm excited to hear him on the NFL Today desk.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm a Kirk Cousins fan, and I think that he's gotten more hate than he deserves, and I'm looking forward.
I love him as an analyst. I think he's
I can't really tell you if I've heard him as an analyst. That's the thing,
dude. I've listened to him do podcasts. I'm like, please put that guy in a booth. Please put that guy in a booth. Please put that guy. I want him over Tony Romo. Please put him in a booth. He will be beautiful post career in a booth.
I look forward to seeing how that plays out. It's always speaking of analysts, real quick, like literally one sentence, I'll say Jason Witten, new tight ends coach for Oklahoma.
I know, isn't that nuts? Yeah.
So,
you know, Scoop, do you know what's going really fast? Do you know what's going on with the NBC? Who they're trying to get for NBC? I think we kind of talked about this yesterday.
NBC,
for MLB, because I've heard like
MLB.
a bunch of rumors. Have you heard anything?
We talked about so many names. You talking about Clayton Kershaw?
So Kershaw, Pence, Jason Benintendi is going to be the play-by-play guy. Apparently,
Who the hell is Jason Benintendi?
Jason Benintendi, you should look up Jason Benintendi highlights. He's amazing. He is so underrated in terms of commentary. I love Jason Benintendi. I think he's fantastic. Right now. He also has cerebral palsy. You never know it, but he does.
Oh, Jason Benetti.
Or I think is it Benetti or Benintendi? I always thought it was Benintendi.
It's Benetti. Okay, I do know who this is then.
Oh, yeah. He's fantastic. So
yeah, I know who this is then. I thought you were talking about Andrew Benintendi, the former outfielder.
No, I always mess it up. But still, looks like he'll be the play-by-play guy. I think we're getting Kershaw, Pence, but a few more. It's just there's a bunch of names out there. So all I'm gonna say is whoever they get, based on the names that I'm hearing, that might be the best like a pre and post show crew in baseball. I think that, oh my God, they're going to be amazing based on all the names that I'm hearing. I mean, it's going to be incredible. I can't wait for NBC's coverage. I really can't. It's going to be amazing. But yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Well, Brandon, anything for you, or we'll head out?
I think we'll head out. I mean, this is the longest. Right. I think it's the longest one we've done.
Definitely one of the longest. And guys, thanks for staying on. For those who did. We got a lot of active commentary tonight, or comments tonight. Thank you guys for that. And we'll be back next week, January 22nd, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Rob time. And we'll see you guys then. Until then, enjoy the playoffs this weekend. Enjoy all the sporting events between now and then. And we'll see you next Thursday. Same Scoop time, same Scoop channel. Rob, Brandon, and Scoop out.
Peace.